too high. Hey, I am Kimbo and I blog at agirlandaglugan.com, and today's Silhouette Love video is all about layering. Layering can be super intimidating, but layering makes your projects pop so much. When you have more than one color on there, it looks just so much more finished in my opinion. So we have 9 layers. We're making a project with 9 layers, and I'm going to show you how to get it set up in your Silhouette Studio software, how to cut it out, and how to get it all layered on your transfer tape and onto your project.
So this is what we're going to be layering today. There are 9 separate images right here that are all going to get piled up and turn into these minion eyes. I'm not offering this as a cut file because anything copyright scares me and I don't want anyone to come after me. So I'm doing this for personal use, not going to offer it as a cut file. So you're going to have to find your own awesome image to layer up. So every single one of these are ready to be cut perfectly, but to make my life easier, I am going to color coordinate everything because when you're cutting out, like I'm going to be cutting out 9 different things of vinyl, I just want to be able to know right off, this is yellow, this is gray, this is brown. So I'm just going to go through with my color palette and quickly add in what color each of these are. I need to make this one a compound path so I can get those. There we go. These are the eyeballs. These are the insides of the eyeballs. These are the white flecks. See, these are the dark shadow of the eyeball. This is the shading of the eyelid. These are the eyelids. And then I'm going to run over and do my line because I'm going to layer these up here in the Silhouette software right on top of each other, and I want to make sure they line up perfectly. And when you have this red outline, it can be pretty deceiving trying to see if it's lined up or all the way because the red will overlap on the red. Anyway, it's hard to tell. So I'm just going to do it all one and done. Black, white, white. These are light gray. These are dark gray. Okay, and like I said, the colors don't exactly have to be, they're more just for easy reference. They're not going to be exactly the vinyl colors. So here are all my images, and now I'm just going to stack them on top of each other. I know this is going to be, these 2 are last. So I'm going to start maybe just with the eyeballs. Put the eyeballs here. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so you can see a little bit better. And your goal is just to line them up perfectly. They're all, if you notice, I mean, they're the perfect distance apart. Like each one of the sides are the same distance apart. But I just want them to put them on top of the image perfectly. So if you notice, see these black pupils are going behind. So I'm going to right click and bring to front so I can see them. Except for I lose my my eye pupils. So I sent backward once. You're just going to play around with bringing it forward and sending it back so you can see each one of these. I need to get a little bit closer so I can make sure I'm lining this up. The reason why those black goggles go on top is because it's just going to finish out any little edges. You know, because I'm not perfect. I just hand drew this and it's not going to line up 100% perfectly. As much as I like to pretend I'm that precise, I'm not that precise. I'm going to bring this one to the front too and see if I can. It's going to overlap. Where's my other pieces? So these are getting lost, so I'm going to bring these to front. And then do I just have the glasses left? Yep. different. They just fit over nicely and cover up any little areas that I didn't do so good. Now I know that this little section right here is supposed to go right here on the inside of the eyeball. It is pretty hard to line up stuff with just a little mouse. Okay, I have it to where I'm okay with it. So this is what it's going to look like, all of our 9 layers stacked up on top of each other. Before I mess around with anything, I'm going to drag a box over, right click and duplicate it because I've messed up so many projects and then had to start all the way over from scratch. So I like having, you know, my master copy over here that I don't touch unless I need to. The next thing that I do is I like to make sure that my size is right. So these are going to go on my daughter's virtual reality goggles, and they are 6 inches by 3.5 inches. If you notice my screen, my grid is by 1 inch, so it's very easy to map out like exact size. Oh, hang on. There we go. So this is my goggles. So that looks good. I don't know if you guys have ever done this, but I've cut out vinyl for like a shirt and I'm like, this is way too small. It looks ridiculous. Or I've cut out vinyl for a cup and it's way too big and doesn't even fit on the cup. So this is just my like, you know, if I'm going to the trouble of cutting out 9 layers, I want to make sure that it's actually sized appropriate. So that's just my little safety net. Also, one thing to notice when you're messing around with this, you are dragging over all of it to move it or to size it. If you size the yellow part or the goggles or any other part that isn't, like if you're sizing just the yellow part alone, it's going to throw off the whole thing. Another thing is this back arrow button, the undo button, is going to be your best friend. If you've accidentally messed up something, you just click that undo button and it puts it right back. Excuse me. So first thing I'm going to do to layer is I'm making a triangle. People use boxes. I don't know. I've always done a triangle. So triangle, I'm going to duplicate it. And I need to drag these down a little bit more to make room for them up here. I'm going to group them together and put them right here. So when I cut out vinyl, I'm going to cut out a triangle with each layer of vinyl. And then when I am layering the vinyl on top of each other, I match up the triangles or squares or whatever shape you put up there, and then the vinyl falls perfectly in place. It's the way to make sure that your designs line up. So to do this, each layer has to have this triangle. Now, there's a couple of different ways to cut out vinyl. I'm going to show you 3. One is like a lazy man's way of doing it, which is the way that I do it. It just seems way easier. So what I do is I will pull off everything except for one. And then I send it, cut it out, and then I push this undo button. And I put everything back. And then I pull off everything else. But one. I send it to my silhouette. I cut it out so this one would be the darker of the yellows. I cut it out, and then I push this undo button and I put it right back exactly where it goes. And I just do that for all 9 layers. The professionals, I do not consider myself a professional, but the professionals do it a little bit different. They'll take this top button, they will copy, and then they will paste in front. It's just going to line it up perfectly, and they're going to paste in front for however many layers there are. Paste in front. I should be keeping count, but I didn't. We'll do one more for good measure. Okay, let me zoom in a little bit. So you're going to pick your top layer. You click the Central key and match it up. And then you're going to click your shift key. So the triangles are highlighted. Click the shift key, pick up your yellow, let go of your shift key, and move it off to the side. There's your first layer. And then right click and group that baby together. There's your first layer of yellow. Then you're going to do it again. See, I just think it's a lot of work and it makes it look really nice and professional. Way too lazy for that. But let me show you again. Central key is going to pick up the color, so you can kind of just color coordinate it. It's not really needed, it just makes it look nice. Shift key, hold down the shift key and try to pick up your goggles. Let go of the shift key, move it off to the side, right click, group together. You just do this for all the layers. I have noticed sometimes I've run into the fact like it won't pick up a layer. Let me group this one together really quickly. Sometimes it won't pick up a layer and I feel like you have to work top down. Like if it won't pick it up, it's probably because it is too down. I don't know. For some reason I don't know if maybe it's a glitch that I have. Let's try this one. Pull it off. Group together. So this looks really nice. And if you're sending this to someone, like, I don't know if you guys design stuff for other people and then they're in charge of having to cut it out, this is definitely the way you would want to send it over to people. It definitely looks the most, oh, see, I'm going to push the back one. Ah! Picking up something. Okay, there we go. Anyway, this is the way you'd want to definitely send it over to someone, because this seems a little bit more understanding as far as what layers to cut. So you just continue it on that way. I'm going to pull this all off to the side and show you the last way. And this last way is one that I have only used a handful of times. It's actually, I don't know, every time the Silhouette Studio software updates, there's so many bells and whistles and I can't even like wrap my head around all of them. So I just do it old school this way over here, but this way is new and it's high tech and it's pretty awesome. I'm in the business edition, so I don't know if this is actually available for everybody. That's why I wanted to show you all the ways, and that way you can just pick whatever one you like the best. So I have my Minionize, I have my triangles up here. I'm going to send it to my Silhouette. And this is the screen that you get when you send it, right? It automatically shows you what's going to be cut, and you definitely do not want to cut. You definitely don't want to cut at this point because you've got a lot of overlap and lines through stuff. So right up here, I've got line, fill, and layer, and I'm going to click fill. And since we have filled each thing with color, it's going to make it so we can cut each thing out by the color. Right here, the Cameo 3 and the Cameo 4 have dual cartridges. So you can like sketch and then cut, or you know, there's the different blades. Anyway, I have tool 1 has my blade in it. Like you can just kind of pick and choose which one you want to do. So I have it all set as tool 1. And then I'm going to unclick all these colors so we can show you a little bit better what they all do. And then for some reason, my default settings, I just updated. It's cardstock plain. Out of all the things I'm using, cardstock is very low on that list. So I just think that's funny that it keeps auto putting in cardstock plain. It's not cardstock plain. I'm cutting this out of vinyl. So you can cut out of cardstock. The same, everything still works, the same technique. It automatically puts that in there no matter how many times I've changed it. It's driving me crazy. Anyway, so here we go. We've got our triangles up here, which means we probably want, hang on, let's see. We probably want to make them a color. Hang on, we got to pop out of here. We want them to pick up our triangles. So we're going to make this a color that we don't have. We're going to make it a purple. We don't have any purples. Click it back to send, and let's see if we've got purple here. Line fill. Did it pop in a purple? There he goes. Okay, you see that purple? Little late to the party purple, but we're happy you're here. Let me zoom in so you can see. Okay, so since we want these triangles cut out with everything, we're always going to leave the purple selected. We don't want it to not cut with something. And then what we're going to do is you're just going to select one color at a time and send it. I don't have sending options because I'm not hooked up to my Cameo. I've got my microphone hooked up. So I'm just going to click this brown. You can see it's going to pick up the dark brown and my triangles, and I'm going to cut it. And then I'm going to unclick my brown. I'm going to click my gray. It's going to pick up my goggles, my purple triangles, and cut it. You're going to load your vinyl, cut it out. So this is what I think is a little confusing, is sometimes I have colors like this. I don't know what it's to. So I usually just kind of omit them and skip over them. I'm not sure what it's picking up. So I don't have a gray. I don't have a dark brown. Like, they look really similar to here, so I'm not quite sure if it's something to do with that. Anyway, I do have a yellow. So it's picking up my yellow, it's picking up my purple, and then I'm going to cut out my yellow. And you just continue down until everything's been cut. It's a very easy way to do it. I just think sometimes, I don't know, like I said, I don't know if everybody has this option. I don't know if it's available to all the basic Silhouette Studio softwares. And I just think sometimes people get overwhelmed with it because, like, it's really hard to see. So here's the white. And sometimes it's hard to see, is it picking up this white? Is it picking up the whites that it should be? And then, like I said, there's a couple colors in here that it won't pick up. So I think a lot of people sometimes get nervous about it. Okay, so the brown of the eyes. But it is a way easy option. So if you have this option, I would suggest maybe making like 3 small projects, all with a couple different colors of layering, and kind of just see which one you like the best. So I'm probably going to use, I don't know, I'm not sure which way I'm going to cut it out yet. Let's see, I might use this one over here, but I'm going to cut it out, and I'm just going to load gray, cut out gray, load white, cut out white, and continue on until I have 9 cuts. I have my project ready to go. I'm just going to load my vinyl. I'm loading it without a mat. If you guys need help doing that, I have a YouTube video. I always get lots of questions about, like, how do you do it? It seems so scary. I'm just gonna make sure it's nice and lined up. I am on my Cameo 3. My Cameo 4 is literally sitting right there. But any kind of Silhouette Cameo is gonna work for this. Realistically, any kind of cutter is gonna work. It's the same basic thing. You just need to make sure that you're able to cut. And I am using Expressions vinyl. All my vinyl comes from Expressions vinyl. It is the best. I love it so much. So I have it loaded. I'm just going to cut out the yellow, but I am going to test cut first just to make sure my cut settings are correct. All the vinyl is the exact same as far as cut settings, so once I do a test cut on this one, I can cut out the rest of my layers without worrying that the cut settings are wrong. Weeded like butter, which means my test cut works. And that means I can cut out the rest of my project. Time for a new color. It's time to weed. I'm just going to pull away the excess vinyl that's not part of the project on every single one of these layers.
So I got all my vinyl weeded. I did want to tell you, I love the Caesar weeding tool. I got it from Expressions. I'll link it up down below as well as the link to the adhesive vinyl I'm using. But it is super sharp and I just love it. It's perfect. So now I've got my transfer tape. It's also from Expressions. This is the, I believe it's the opaque. I love the gridded one as well, but in my messy craft room I can't find it. It's somewhere in here. So I'm using this one instead. They both work fantastic, but for some reason I just like the look of the gridded. Anyways, and I'm going to sort these by layers. So I know my glasses are on top, and I'm just going to try to work my way down for each layer, because this one will go on top of this one. This is the highlight for that yellow. So I want to make sure as I'm layering, I'm putting the correct order of vinyl onto my project. So I'm just going to get it all organized, stacked up, and then we're going to apply it to the virtual reality goggles. I've got all my vinyl lined up and I flipped them over, so this is the bottom layers. The top layers are on the bottom. And then this is the VR, this is what I'm putting the vinyl on. I did run into like a little snafu, is my triangles are gonna run a little bit off, which it should still be fine, but maybe I should have moved them a little bit closer. I didn't even think about it. So, okay, since my goggles, I wanna make sure that they're centered. My first layer is actually the eyeballs that are a little bit off to the side. So I'm gonna use this to try to figure out exactly where I'm gonna put this first layer down at. So I'm removing the backing and the transfer tape. Just gonna line it up like that, matching up the two triangles. I don't know if you can see, I can see through. You can kind of see that I can see through. And then that's what I'm going to stick it down with like that. So you can actually assemble it on the side and then have your one image that has all the layers, and then you can put it on your project. Either way. So we got our first layer. This will be the tricky part. We want to make sure that those triangles stay on the project. My next layer, I'm going to reuse the same transfer tape, waste not, want not. I'm going to match up the triangles. And then that dictates where that part falls. So match up triangles, let this part fall down. Next layer. If you are really nervous about matching up, what you can do is fill up the triangles. Hang on, I need to use my application tool to get it down. You're going to pill up this part and just trim off the backing just over that part. That way you can get them lined up perfectly and you don't have to worry about this bottom part touching before you're ready. That's going to be really handy if you have a bigger project. Mine's so little that it doesn't really matter. So that's lined up, so what you do is you flip up, peel off the backing, let it fall down right into place. It kind of looks like a cat with those triangles, doesn't it? All right, we got some weird eyes. Moving along, I'm going to get a new piece of transfer tape just because I've used that one 4 times, 3 times, 4 times. Next layer is yellow minion. Just a quick transfer tape hint. If you're having a problem getting the backing off, it helps sometimes if you flip it over and peel it backwards. Just releases a little bit better sometimes. This is the shadowing for the eyeballs. We're almost done. 2 more layers. Now once you're done with all the layers, you can peel off this and that and just toss them. Now you have your fun project. I did want to show you how to do the layering on the transfer tape before you apply it to your project. So you're just going to cut them out the same way, weed away the excess. And then for this technique, you are going to start with the top layer first and then work your way up. You're going to peel down, it's very similar, peel down, and then you're going to trim off that piece just underneath those triangles. And then my next layer. I'm going to line up those triangles. And you're going to hinge it. And then drop it. Now you're ready just to apply it right to your project. So you can choose either way, this way, or just applying it directly onto your project. Okay guys, what do you think? I hope that explained layering a little bit. I know it can seem intimidating, so let me know if you guys have any questions, if something didn't make sense, or if you have an idea for a next Silhouette Love video. Let me know down in the comments. I'll link to everything that I used, and I would love if you wanted to follow along on my channel. Thanks!